Hello, guys. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining us on Two Geek Girls.
Hello.
I do apologize. I'm a little washed out tonight. It's like I got like 90% of the makeup done, but not all of it. And I'm just going to be Ghost Blue Girl tonight. So, hey,
Yes, fine.
it's all good. It's all good.
Technically, if you want to think about it, I'm always Ghost Blue Girl. So you're just joining the club.
But I could see your eyes. Like I ended up with this little mask around because I don't have the blend right. Which again, it's like, hey, my eyes are here. I swear, it's all right. Nobody cares. It's all good. Hey, Donnie.
Hello. Let's see. We've got Olive, Claude, Donnie, Steven. All the peeps.
I hope everyone's doing good. How are you doing today, Lyssa?
I'm doing good.
Did you do anything fun this weekend?
I played Cyberpunk. I finished that up last night and broke my own heart with it.
Aw, damn.
Hi, Esri. Yes?
Hello. I finally went to go see. I got to see Batman.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I've heard it's good. Yes.
It is.
Hi, hello.
I'm going to say it's one of those movies that if the trailer intrigues you, if the tone of the trailer intrigues you, then you know what you're getting into. It's a 3-hour movie. It is a sharp 3-act, straight out of I don't want to say straight out of the comic books. What I mean by that is it's definitely shot where like every scene could be a panel. Mm-hmm. Like that. And it's very distinct. So props for that, because I like comic book movies, not just movies based on comic books. And I do feel like there's a difference. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yes.
Hi, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Jim made it.
Hi, kitty. Hi, kitty. I had my bunny, but my dog keeps chasing it out of the room.
The cats have a kitty treat redemption on my Twitch channel now. And so anytime I'm on voice, it doesn't matter if I'm actually streaming or not. Anytime I'm on voice chat of any kind, Ezra comes in as like, free.
Oh, that's funny.
She's a nut. She's an absolute nut.
Let's see. Yeah, trying to avoid spoilers for sure. That is true, dying. But I will say I recommend it. I'll give y'all like one more week to go see it, and then we'll talk about it. But the characters that we do know are in it. Obviously, the Penguin, Catwoman, Riddler, Jim Gordon. I'm trying to think of everything that was like in the trailers. Let's see. Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know. I'm still counting down. We've got Doctor Strange, and then Love and Thunder. Black Adam has been pushed back again. So this, But I came out of the Batman movie saying I would absolutely be down for like another 2 these standalone stories, Elseworld, Batman. I definitely want to see more of this world. I think they hit a great tone, and one of the best things about it is a very down to earth movie. Mm-hmm. It is. No. The last time we saw Condiment King, aside from his wonderful interview from the Suicide Squad interview that was done, is the Harley Quinn show on HBO, which I never know how to explain that show to people other than just
chaos.
just go with it.
It's animated chaos.
I played like part of the pilot for Alec, and he was like, "What the hell is going on?" I said, "I told you it's not for kids. This is not a kid show at all." Yeah.
Not even remotely.
No.
Not even remotely.
No.
If you were looking at Harley Quinn and going, "Yeah, no, this is totally meant for kids," you are wrong. No. Don't get me wrong. My parents would have let me watch that as a kid. Yeah. They'd be fine with it. But I also grew up in the era of Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah. Which, looking back on a lot of those cartoons, so much stuff went over our heads. Nor did we really understand the adult themes as we were watching them, because especially when you're younger, you just assume that if something is on the air and something is there, it's just perfect and amazing, and all adults are professional and no mistakes are ever made. So you just assume that what you're watching is supposed to be there. We don't realize controversy and all of these things until we get older, or even just adult themes. But this is beyond adult themes, and for me, it's that one. For people who were fans of it, for some people it was a little too much. For people who were fans, it's like, wow, they nailed that. That's exactly who that character is. That's exactly what they would do. This is really how imaginative it is.
Yep.
Yeah. Here I was imagining Alec and the puppies being in their own cartoon world in the background. I mean,
yes, no, clearly that's exactly what's going on.
I don't even. I'm trying to see. I did have the Black and Tan crew all lined up on the couch at one point, but I don't know. They're wandering around.
I see one of the Mexican Cokes.
Yes.
Superior Coke.
It's a superior one. I have that. I have just regular soda water. I have my sugar-free Red Bull, and I am starting. Yeah. I made a guess.
I'm assuming you don't have work later tonight.
I'm only drinking a little bit of this. I'm only allowed a little bit of this, like literally a beer amount of this.
Fair enough.
I do, but not for like 2 more hours. So I'm good, and I gotta eat. Animaniacs was good. I would highly recommend. This is one it was basically it was one of those like top 10 times or top 20 times cartoons from our childhood tackled adult issues. And I freely admit there's a lot of stuff that I didn't realize how nuanced it was, especially when you get cartoons like Hey Arnold, and like it was a lot. I mean, God,
Hey Arnold tackled a lot of really deep subjects.
A lot, and doing it in an urban setting as opposed to a suburban setting, really meant that they were going to have completely different family dynamics. And that was there. Animaniacs was good for making very late night content style jokes that the parents would kind of look up a little bit, but at the same time it wasn't really going to impact the kids, so they let it go.
Yeah.
Spielberg, gotta remember this was a Spielberg show, so he's good at finding people that will slip things in there, and going back and watching the episodes, you kind of realize a lot of stuff that was in the news at the time, and the Animaniacs is talking about it. It was interesting. But
yes, Disney Plus, the Proud Family Louder and Prouder. I'm looking forward to that because that was a series that I enjoyed as a kid.
Yes. Yeah, that one, I was a little bit older when that one came out, but I remember,
obviously, I'm Lily White. However, it was a good show. It's one of those things, yes, it has, the nuance of the different racial bits to it, but a lot of the themes in that show were just universal. And that's why it was a good show for everyone, regardless of what your racial cultural background is.
Right. Yes, I mean, it's like watching Encanto. As much as it's going to be tackling a lot of cultural, issues that people are still talking about now, it's also universally hitting a lot of family dynamics that people can understand. And I know I did. I grew up in the days of, I don't know if we took it for granted or we didn't realize how big it was, but I never thought twice about, other than certain issues they were tackling, the fact that I was a huge Moesha fan, I was a Sister fan, I was a Family Matters fan, I was certainly coming out of the Cosby days, my parents were big Cosby fans, and we'll talk about that one later. But Fresh Prince, just seeing a family dynamic. Most importantly, you're seeing family dynamic. You're watching great comedy, and certainly relatable teenagers, and you're not really thinking twice about it. but it will absolutely there were issues that are going to be tackled there that weren't tackled nearly as often on say Saved by the Bell or Full House. Like that, yes, and for good reason.
Well, yeah, because like there's racial dynamics that don't work for those other shows.
It was a good. There were a lot of very smart ways they were, trying to tackle very important issues while also trying to be like the censors were also kind of way too much.
No, the censors,
how they had to say it, how they had to do it, and which was stupid. Like there's a lot that should have been allowed to be tackled head on, but that's it's a lot of different things. But I don't remember. Now I also grew up in a very mixed area, and a lot of families that were also like best friend was her father was from Mexico, her mother was like from Michigan, so the dynamic there, I did not realize. I grew up pretty sheltered as far as how hard the line was in other places, and I thought every place was equally influenced. I was wrong, and but I'm glad I grew up not thinking twice about certain things, but it did make me blind to other problems that people were having.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, especially when you come from an area that's very blended like that. Like, while it might not be something that's impacting you immediately,
right?
You have friends who it's impacting. You have people in your community who it's impacting. And so, like, you're going to be, in some ways, a little bit more sensitive to that than...
Ironically sheltered from the seriousness of it. That's one thing I'm realizing about myself. I because I was surrounded by a very comfortable blending, I was very sheltered from the circumstances that people who look different from me, and it was all different types, were, I didn't realize the dynamics that they were faced with because I wasn't seeing it. I was seeing the okay side of it. And so that made me pretty ignorant to. So this is, a lot of stuff that there's my white privilege. My white privilege is that I grew up in, upper middle class area. So everything feels a lot more balanced. But that means there's a lot of stuff that you don't realize is happening to people. So this is continuing to educate myself about what it is like to be in this country for people who don't look like me. Or sound like me, or it's a second language, or anything like that. Like,
yeah.
I have a lot to learn still.
See, I had an interesting mix of a childhood.
Yeah.
It's like the first few years of my life, we lived in a mobile home park.
Yeah.
But like as things went on, my parents bought a house and this, that, next thing. But like even still, like the area I lived in, like if you actually look at the racial demographics of like my elementary school, it was primarily Black. Like my brother, for his 5th grade class, was one of like 2 or 3 white kids. But it's still like a middle class area.
Right.
Did you lock up? She has a very poignant look, guys. I think we lost Crysstal, guys.
Oh, there I am.
Oh, there she is.
Right. Yeah.
At least you locked up in a good location.
Oh, good.
You kind of had this look like...
I'll try to. No, if that's gonna happen, I'm trying to look cute the whole time. It's not gonna work, but I'm gonna try. Yeah. Well, that was honestly just California, especially at the time that I was growing up there. Things were changing greatly, but it's just, yeah. Yeah, because it was interesting. It was upper middle class and then lost everything and back down to nothing. And it's, everything like that impacts how people feel, one in the dynamic where they're comfortable, where they're comfortable being, what they aspire to be in, or maybe they're never going to be comfortable in, regardless of it might be better. There are certain, and my summers were completely different. My summers were like, a single wide, nobody had any money, sleeping in a truck, like, and so, but that also felt like totally normal to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But obviously I was very lucky. My parents worked very hard and I feel very lucky, 99% of the time. Totally.
I don't think that background music's louder, but I can turn it down a little.
Is it louder? It's not always on. It's on now, but I like it. It's lo-fi girl playing in the back.
There is one that is specifically named lo-fi, but I like the night driving one better because it has here's the lo-fi.
I like let's see.
Like this one on loop is not as chill and fun to listen to as just this one.
Yeah. I have become like, I try to spend at least 2 to 3 hours, give or take, working on, like, I'm doing the Bible I've got the 2 shows I'm working on right now. So I've got these are extensive Bibles and extensive world building. So with all of that, I have something going, and there's one, I like ones that look like a nice apartment with the skyline view. And the cars kind of driving in the background. There's another one that's supposed to be this cafe, but it's right on the water, and across the water is like the New York City skyline. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, dreaming. But let's see.
Emilio Delgado, who played Luis Rodriguez in Sesame Street, passed away this afternoon at 81.
Yeah.
That's sad. He was a big part of a lot of people's childhoods.
It scares me. Now it scares me every time they mention like a beloved actor is like 80 something. I'm like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I don't know if you were watching.
And what about that Kenobi trailer? Have you seen it yet?
I have. I've seen. Is that? I think it was the second one that came out. Like there was another one, and this is the second.
I don't know, actually.
I do
know. I think there was a teaser, and then this is the full trailer.
Yeah. People are stoked. There's gonna be so much.
Oh yeah. Did you see little Luke?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I can't wait for us to just see little Luke just like in the background. Zoom.
Yeah, because this is really like Uncle Ben, so it's interesting. And finally got Alec, and I got to revisit because it was, how many years ago did like Clone Wars and those shows come out?
Oh gosh, when did Clone Wars come out?
It's
Google.
been a while.
When did Star Wars: The Clone Wars television series come out?
According to Wikipedia, the series began with a theatrical feature film that was released on August 15, 2008, and debuted on Cartoon Network 2 months later on October 3rd, 2008.
Okay.
So 2008.
Yeah, that would be right, because I had like just come back to California when the animated shows were kicking off, and as somebody else who'd like, I'd read the comic books and I'd read some of the books and stuff like that aside, that was really cool. But at the same, like, people were surprised, but I knew there was going to be a whole generation of kids growing up understanding more about the, all of the world building that had gone into it, not just the 3 movies and then the other 3 I don't really care about.
Yes, Esri?
Yeah. Nope. Yep.
Yeah.
2008. So.
Can you tell me? I don't know that the mic's actually picking her up.
Until the show started coming out on Disney Plus, Alec had never watched them.
Really?
Yeah. So he's now caught up, and we're like, no, they're really good shows. Which is why it's so confusing that the last several movies.
Yeah.
Why? Why? You guys clearly know. Anyway. So yes, excited for that. And I, as somebody who enjoyed Book of Boba Fett. Obviously, Mandalorian was a phenomenon. So we're good. We're moving in the right direction. I believe.
No, you must stay in my lap because you keep meowing at me.
Let's see.
It's like, Mom.
Oh, that was the other one. So our Colin Farrell Penguin is getting an HBO Max series.
Oh, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, that's gonna be serious. That's gonna be interesting. And if that's where that world, so let's say it's Matt Reeves' world, ends up, totally fine.
I'm okay with that.
Totally
That'll be awesome.
Yes, I am good with that. Let's see. I don't know. I'm still coming down off of No Way Home and feel like it's just dragging until Multiverse.
Yeah, in some ways it is.
And then it's like, then I feel like I have to get myself hyped up for whatever movie is coming out after that. So we'll see. But,
we will see.
Yeah, and I did do several of those dissection videos that they do for the trailer. They came out, so it was a Super Bowl trailer that came out for Multiverse, and it's the one where they slow everything down to like quarter speed, so you can see a lot more. And it's like, holy crap, I missed all of that. Like you see some things, but there's so much going on in that trailer. Like I didn't catch that one of the worlds they go through is an animated world. Like Doctor Strange is half animated in one of the scenes, and I'm like, wait, what? Okay.
So they're pulling in the animated stuff, so the what if stuff is on the table.
All of it's on the table, like everything.
No ifs, ands, or buts. The what if is on the table now.
Like, as far as we should be concerned, what if is real, and for the moment
canon.
where the worlds are like this, it's going to be everywhere. So we had all the animated. We had the blocks. Again, a lot of speculation about who would really be behind M-Day. And there's a lot of graphics that match up with the comic books from M-Day and Scarlet Witch's involvement in that.
Yep.
Cause of that. So a lot of that.
I'm wondering if with this one, because they haven't introduced the mutants yet,
right,
it's going to be in reverse, where she's the cause of the mutants coming to this universe. Or
he's being approached by the Illuminati because she's already destroyed them. Yeah.
That's a possibility.
Yeah, that it's already happened. And because I think everything that we're going to see from Scarlet Witch, right, and like the meeting that we're seeing in the trailer where he's asking her, what do you know about this, and that she's talking about Vision thought it was dangerous. Vision, we think that's all BS. This is all a fake world that she's created, knowing that Doctor Strange was coming, and that meeting's going to go really, really bad at the end because stuff has already happened. Yeah. Especially with Defender Strange, clearly kind of going through a whole arc in this. He goes from where we see him with America to where we see him as like zombie. And I'm like, and then you see another zombie character, and then you see another zombie character, and I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. Captain Carter, it looks like, yes, the shield is in the poster. So I would
We're gonna probably get Captain Carter. Which is gonna be freaking awesome because like Peggy Carter with with her series, they did not end it. They did not give it justice. We needed better for Peggy. It's such a good series.
I mean, Captain Carter just... Yeah.
So, like, if they're actually bringing Captain Carter to the MCU,
Yeah.
100% for it.
Yep. And then this is the one name. So it's Rachel McAdams' character. I'm going to remember the character's name when it doesn't matter anymore. But obviously,
I remember it as the nurse.
The nurse.
That is.
She was a doctor. She's not a nurse. She's a doctor.
Well, but the character in the comics is
yes, as the nurse. And so we see scenes of the other universe's version of her in the lab. And then we see them in the doorway. That's her and America behind Strange in the doorway. So her role in this is going to be significantly bigger. That's interesting, but it's also a lot of space. And I don't trust that Marvel hasn't fudged with a lot of the images. They've already gone in and re-CGI'd from the first trailer that we saw. The buses did, like, a lot of things have been added. We've already seen scenes change, but it's like the added CGI. It's not like it's just further along in the final result. Okay, cool. But at the same time, I don't trust them not to, like the scene where we see him walking into the room with the Illuminati. I don't trust them not to fudge with the silhouettes or be hiding something. Like, we don't see.
Disney is notorious with the Marvel stuff of throwing us for a loop in the trailers.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to, and rightfully so, give away too much.
Because people are good at spotting everything, and they forget how they're realizing it now. Obviously, as each movie comes out, they're realizing, like, no, we figure it out, and we're looking at all the international stuff. So we've had things given away because we pulled, people looked at international trailers and went, oh, wait. Okay, so that's the scene that matches with this one. If we put it all together, we just saw a whole, now we see more. Releasing toys too soon. This whole thing, they've got what, 4 cast members on the IMDb?
Yep.
For Doctor Strange?
Yeah, and see, that's the
Nobody
thing.
on there.
The toy releases give away so much more than they mean to.
They do. Like, we can see. Let's see.
Like, they really need to, they need to be hyping up the toys, but at the same time, they need to not be showing what the toys are yet. Yeah. They need to be saying, hey, this is coming out on this day, and the movie should be coming out before the toys. So, and then the toys drop.
All of that without time for people to. I wouldn't mind if the toys dropped the weekend of.
Yeah,
cool.
That's what I mean. Because it's inevitable. We live in a world where we have the internet. Spoilers abound.
Yes, there isn't going to be much that we can't see.
See, I want Quake back as well, but I don't know that Captain Carter and Quake would team up, at least in the movies yet.
In the movies, yeah,
because they have to reintroduce the Inhumans, because they did not count Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as any part of the canon. So all of that does not matter. Anything that happened in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., not on the table. Yeah. Unless they're deciding, because of the multiverse theory, to include it in that way. But because of the pettiness between Feige and the director for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't know that that's going to happen. I don't know that that's going to happen. So any of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. characters, outside of ones that were part of the actual established MCU,
right,
are going to have to be reintroduced in some way.
Let's see. So, on a slightly more serious note, I've been trying to catch what the CEOs, the executives for Disney and Marvel are, because Disney, Florida, everything goes hand in hand there, and you have the Don't Say Gay bill. Yeah. Yeah. And Disney being, I don't know, how are we going to say it? I'm not quite walking on eggshells about it. We do know the public stance that Disney has on this, and to the point where probably sooner than people expected them to do it. They had Pride Day, they, having their characters be allies, doing videos, all of that. They did, what did they do? It Gets Better campaign that they tried to do with the characters and the actors.
Olive is correct.
Yeah.
As of like today, Georgia just
did that as well.
put one out.
Yep. So,
which again, another state where the film industry abounds. Like, did they not see this like biting us in the ass?
It appears like that their public stance is that Disney didn't expect so many people to, one, care about their public stance, but also that the contributions that they've made, and they've made very specific contributions to it, because Disney financially contributed to that. Now, what Disney did is it's financially contributed to the people who wrote it as opposed to the bill, if that makes sense. It's not like Disney said, yeah, go do the bill. Disney got, kind of
swept up in it.
Yes. And that's putting a lot of, pressure on them to make their stance very, very clear. Don't be a queer baiting company by, encouraging certain public perceptions of your villains that, at the time they were created, they were, like, no, you gotta,
queer coding
as opposed to queer baiting. So queer coding, because of the time that it came out, will accept that. If they did it today, it would be queer baiting.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, it was like,
well, and see, it entirely is up to how they do it too, because queer coding still happens.
Yes.
But queer coding is less explicit versus implicit. It's more of an implicit thing that they are coded in a queer manner, whereas queer baiting is like LeFou, for example, kissing the guy at the end of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, well, yes and yes. I understand why a lot of people would absolutely take that at the same level. I find myself more, I guess, offended would be the term for it, when they hint at something in a trailer, but they never follow through with it, or they do just enough to kind of get, let's say, people in Los Angeles and New York interested in it, but they don't go so far as to offend anybody in the Midwest. So at least with LeFou, they were admitting what he was, that he was gay, as opposed to kind of like dancing around it so they could deny it if they needed to, but could, suck in the other people who wanted it to be like that baiting attitude of, but I don't want to lose my viewers in the Bible Belt. I'm like,
and see, that's the thing, like with LeFou, that for me it felt like pure queer baiting, not them actually saying yes, he is a proper queer individual. Because the signs have always been there.
Yeah.
He was always queer coded.
Yes.
Always.
And for cartoons that are coming out in the 90s that are supposed to be family cartoons at a time when everything was censored, you couldn't, and going all the way back, like, we embrace the history of queer coding because at least people had something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like when they made it this big deal that LeFou was gay, it's like, okay, so actually show that. And it was like one thing at the very, very end of the movie. And it just felt, it felt like they were, as you were saying, queer baiting.
Yeah.
They were queer baiting with LeFou. And there's a lot that I find wrong with the live action Beauty and the Beast. And it's not the actors. It's purely the fact that they used way too much fucking auto-tune.
Yeah, I
literally cannot sit through that movie. No. I got to when Belle was in the actual castle, and it was like, I'm done. I cannot keep watching this.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen as an example of people kind of speaking out right now. So,
This.
yeah, no,
This.
yeah, there's always been progress. There are much better examples of progress of queer coding used as a form of progress, of it being placed in a story with a well-rounded character. But it's started from that history of what could people get past the censors, what could
Yes.
you do that people would understand, like having the beautiful divas costume maker be very
Flamboyant.
man. Yeah, be a very flamboyant man. Okay. And he has another man that's always around him.
Yeah.
Now, if you made a movie in 1952, that's as good as you were going to get.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, we get it. We'll take it. Well, and everybody smiled and everybody sat through it and everybody understood and nobody cared. So,
well, and even like Star Trek, for example, with Deep Space Nine, with Jadzia and
with Dax,
one of the Dax's previous partners.
Yeah.
Like, that was honestly, the Trill are a very good, at least the ones that are have a symbiote, are a very good example of gender fluidity.
Yes. And it's done in this sci-fi way that, well, your grandma's not going to mind you watching this because she can just tell herself this.
Well, this character's a girl, right?
Well, you and I both know. Well, no, she's a symbiote. She goes back and forth. Like,
yeah.
Well, they become, yes, all of that. Star Trek.
Well, and like Ezri was a very good example of someone fighting with that. Like trying to figure out what it means to now be gender fluid when they were in a world where I am a girl.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I have always perceived myself. And now I have to come to terms with the fact that I have all of this knowledge. I have all these different experiences. I've been a mom. I've been a dad. I've been somewhere in between. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why, like, a lot of people give Ezri so much shit. But for me, as someone who is a queer individual, Ezri is one of my favorite characters, even though she's only in that last season.
Yeah. Yeah. And not, yeah. And it's fascinating when you change it. Again, changing that dynamic of it, using science fiction and fantasy to explain something is the still acceptable form of queer coding, because it isn't queer baiting, it's education. It's placed like it. This is
They use it in a way that it's not going through the motions. It's trying to show and illustrate that how that feels like.
Very factual. Like, if we tell you that this being is consistently having to change its physical shape, but it's still this being right here, that makes it something visual you can't deny. Like, just there. You have to accept this. And then, I mean, even watching the Next Generation episode with Riker and again, flipping the narrative on its head to make you see it both ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when they first introduced the Trill.
And then doing the Trill. This was the one with the society wanted no gender.
Oh, yeah, no, that one.
Yeah. Again, flipping it on its head to make you see the point. Any of that. And then and fun little jokes. There are going to be a lot of things about Disney movies that are going to continue to be embraced. And now that you've got, was it The Owl House is one of the shows that Disney has out, and that one has a dynamic between two of the female characters that's in it. But the creator of that show came out with a statement because of this, saying, "I'm sick and tired of being the one responsible to make Disney look good." I don't. They're getting tired of Disney being, well, look, we're progressive over here, or look, we did this over here, or look, we allowed this over here, or we're embracing our fans, queer coding our villains. I'm like, yeah, and then you just helped a bunch of people fund the Don't Say Gay bill. So fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Doesn't matter. This
Stephen, there was also a serial killer in there.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, Disney continuing to be, they continue to raise prices of everything. So just wanted to call out, there's some interesting articles that have been written, several of them that have been written on that if you're interested in seeing exactly what is going down with Disney right now. And they are making public, it is getting, hot enough under the collar for them that they are making public statements. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen the next 24, 48 hours with that.
And especially given that Georgia's doing one too, and Disney, like most of the Marvel movies, are at least very much filmed here.
I really thought we were making so much progress 20 years ago.
I thought we were making progress the last 10. Apparently we're not.
Apparently not. But
I had hope because the film industry came to Georgia.
I know.
And Georgia, well, see, here's the thing. Honestly, I think Trump getting into power is what made them have the audacity to think that they can do this and get away with it.
Yeah, and whether you want to call it chicken or egg, because there were enough people to put somebody like that in power because of the dynamic that he had, and then him being there, reaffirming that. Of course, that feels like such a
Trump feels like a snowball effect to me because of the fact that people were so done with the status quo at that time.
That too.
That people like my grandmother, who would normally have voted for a Democrat, voted for Trump because he wasn't Hillary.
Yeah.
It wasn't because she agreed with him. It was literally because of the fact that he wasn't Hillary.
Yes. And as emotional as I get about the clearly horrible people that voted for Trump, you have to accept that there were so many people
he would not have made it if there weren't people like my grandmother who were like, I'm just so done with everything else. Let's give this a try and see what happens.
Yeah. And I know for me, it was like, I understand the problems with the status quo, but there's a lot that, and that's going to be what a lot of people say. A lot of people who had completely different reasons for voting him. Yeah, thank you, Weasley. And that is something, people like me need to remember.
There were a lot of
different reasons,
and simply
comes down to the Democratic Party being awful at communication, awful with branding.
Well, and there was that scandal too of them, pointedly trying to make sure that Hillary was the candidate instead of trying to listen to their constituents.
Yes.
And see, that's the thing. When you get that level of corruption happening, and this is across the board.
Welcome to politics.
Across the board. If that gets leaked, that deals a huge blow to your platform, especially during an election year.
But you had enough people already looking for reasons not to vote for her.
Yeah.
So you handed them another one. Regardless of what I know I saw and didn't like in Trump, and I'm like, but it all comes back to many of us thinking for so long we were making progress. We were so it was going to get better, but that's like thinking. I'm watching right now, watching The Gilded Age, and it has its flaws, but it's telling a very important part of history. It's telling a very important part of Black history when Black Americans were becoming successful. They were, they had their own businesses, they had their own forms of entertainment, their own forms of communication. So while things were still very segregated because it wasn't that long since the Civil War, you also had a dynamic of people not trying to prevent Black Americans from having there were no laws stopping them from having businesses. Like if they lived in New York City, we're seeing the whole success, just like we saw Black Wall Street, just like we saw this. So here's all of the signs where there was progress happening. Still not perfect, still not great, still couldn't go to certain parts of town, which is bullshit. But They
It
were
was a
not
start.
being hindered. They were not being hindered. They were seen as autonomous human beings who were allowed to, progress as anybody else. You may have your whatever. You may have
Sorry.
prejudices and everything else, but it certainly was not acceptable to hinder a human being from having, at least in certain parts. And in New York City, that they were building an entire community, and then you have it just regressed again, because then there were people who had a backlash, a knee-jerk reaction of, no, we can't allow that.
That, and see, that's the thing, Stephen Ross. We
Yeah.
are to that point in our quote-unquote democracy, because we are actually a democratic republic.
Yep.
That we are voting for who we think will do the least amount of damage.
Yep.
And that either means they won't get shit done, or what they are able to get done is at least progressive.
Well, and to that point, all of so what was happening is you had areas, and again, this is why I kept saying, like, in certain areas, if you were in the South, you were screwed if you were Black, no matter what. They made sure that all the laws were different. But in other areas, it was seen as taboo to Black, because in the Northern mindset, they were to be afforded every equal opportunity. Again, so certain parts of New York, it was considered taboo to redline. It was considered taboo to hinder somebody because they were Black. Like, you would be written up in the paper. You would actually, it would harm your business if people found out that you were performing racist practices.
Yes.
So this is where we saw some, but obviously there were a lot of parts in the country where that was not allowed to happen, where people didn't care and financial institutions profited off of holding Black people down. That is absolutely true. Redlining and everything was still there. But again, if you were living next to that, if you were in that neighborhood, if you were in New York City, you would think that good progress was being made. You wouldn't realize what was happening in other parts of the country.
Back to the talking about the sort of white privilege that you had as a child, because you lived in a very blended community. And that applied to these periods of time too.
Yes.
Depending on where you lived, you could see it from a totally different light and not know what's outside of your little bubble.
Yep.
Especially in a world where the 24-hour news cycle wasn't a thing yet.
Oh my God. That's just a propaganda. That's the party, and those powers that be were way behind. Way behind. And yep. If you live in your bubble, you don't realize the damage that's being done and the real mindset that people have.
And that's why, like, in some ways, like, obviously the 24-hour news cycle is bad, but the fact that we have access to the internet, we have this 24-hour news cycle now, in many ways, it has allowed us to grow as a species, because those bubbles that we live in, those lines are being blurred now, because we have friends literally all over the world now. At least a lot of people, not everyone. There are still people who are firmly in their bubble who don't give a shit.
Yes. That is.
And the internet can also allow you to reinforce that bubble, depending on how algorithms want to apply to you.
Well, and so to go to what we were talking about, where we think progress is being made because we surround ourselves with friends who are like-minded to us. We're surrounding ourselves, like, we're working with all of this, and then realizing that there's so much fear and hatred and prejudice still out there, still powerful, still accepted. People saying things that they would never be allowed to say around us or our friends, and we certainly would never say. The fact that a bill like the Don't Say Gay bill is even, it's just blowing my mind.
It's not blowing my mind because I grew up here in the South. I know, I had hope that things were becoming more progressive, but I knew that at any given moment, this could happen again.
Yeah.
But it pisses me off no end because of the fact that queer kids are so at risk already.
Yep.
They are so at risk already. The depression rates, the suicide rates, all of this. You're doing this to kids when, like, you want to say that, because these are the same people who say all lives matter. Clearly, all lives don't matter to them, because otherwise you would allow this language to occur in schools. So these kids, when they are in households that don't accept them, that don't allow them to be themselves, they can learn. They can still have some kind of healthy outlet.
It's the social acceptance of what is normal, as opposed to accepting that the narrative of what is normal needs to change. So sitting next to somebody watching a TV show and they say, "Oh God, they're just, they're shoving their gay agenda down our throats," and I'm like,
You mean the gay agenda that we want to actually have human rights?
Right. So you're saying that gay people don't exist? That this is all just, no, they do, but they don't need to be on TV. Well, stop shoving your straight agenda down my throat, because it's not right. It's not accurate. Well, that's normal. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not normal. It's normal for there to be an entire,
there's an entire spectrum. It's a rainbow for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, it blows my mind that people can be like that.
Yeah.
Like, I've grown up around it. I've related to people like that, so I've seen it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, how can you be so far up your own ass to not realize the harm you are doing to other individuals?
Because they're married to their narrative. They're married to the narrative. They will not let it go. They can, and so they will only hear anything that backs up their narrative. It's like arguing with somebody about, like, with facts.
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
It's pure cognitive dissonance.
Yes. They will not listen to anything else. And at that point, it just really starts to feel hopeless.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's.
Thank you, Donnie.
See you later, Donnie. Also, Slytherin. See you later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
It's sad that we still live in a world where, even though we've made so much progress, we take 2 steps forward, 4 steps back.
Yeah, well, because we assume that the progress is,
stable.
We assume that it's always going to be moving forward, and we assume that it excuses a lot of other things. It's like, I mean, again, it's hearing from people, this country's not racist. We voted for a black president, and I'm like, yeah. And did you see?
Yeah, because there was also the narrative that he was half white.
That, and then you didn't see all the signs about lynching him outside Lincoln Run? Like, really? You missed that? Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yes.
That. So, and this is why, like, I need to stop talking. You need to stop talking about it. It's like, no, they need to keep talking about this, because if they don't keep bringing up that it's still not good enough, that there are still problems, that it is just grandstanding, that it's just for show, like, that's what needs to be called out.
Yeah.
And
no progress will ever be made by people staying silent.
Yep. No. And it goes in everything. And then I'm this great channel that does consistent essays and representation in entertainment. And it's, as far as I can tell, it's an all-female or female-identified or gender-fluid production team that does it. It's called The Take on YouTube, and they do excellent dissections of when things are better but not good enough. Yeah, and it's their essays are excellently, I say essay, it's a YouTube essay, so. When
you say essay, I think something else. Define what an essay is for people.
So an essay, as if you were presenting it in your college class, that could also include visuals, it could include a video, but it is what you're presenting. It has to be graded as an essay. So when it's an essay, it's not quite a thesis.
Oh,
it is like this whole dissertation.
I was thinking the letters essay. Okay.
No, sorry. But it is, by technical definition, going to be an essay. So they will present to you their hypothesis and they will break it down. However, they do it in a non-boring lecture. It is wonderfully relatable, succinct, like maybe 20 minutes long, but you get completely sucked into it, and it explodes.
It completely explains. Oh no. Crysstal. Crysstal. Crysstal, this is your conscience speaking. Come back. You're in the middle of a thought. Oh, wait. There we go.
I'm like watching it. I'm watching it go. Yeah. Anyway, and it goes through all the history, and it's one of the places where I thoroughly enjoyed their definitions of like queer coding and when it was appropriate. And they went all the way back to like movies in the 30s and 40s and everything else. They were also doing when it came to Black representation in movies today, and the standards that we have, and why it's you were hearing from Zoe Kravitz that she auditioned for The Dark Knight Rises, not for Catwoman, but she auditioned for the movie, and she was told she was too urban. Like, okay, I assumed we stopped saying words like that a couple decades ago. I was wrong. Yeah. And anyway, it's they do a great showing you that the red flags are still there, showing you that the propensity for backlash and why sometimes things are just for show.
Yep.
Enough, and yet here's the ones we need to credit with doing something actually progressive. No, she was not auditioning.
No, she wasn't auditioning.
I think she was auditioning to be the roommate or the I think her name was Molly in the comic books. The little blonde girl that was Anne Hathaway's roommate in that movie. I think she's auditioning for one of those roles, but yeah, they didn't want somebody who looked like her to be in such a central character. Charming. Well, joke's on you.
Yeah.
There you go.
And the people bitching about Catwoman being black, like,
Oh,
did you realize
God.
what Eartha Kitt was like one of the first representations of Catwoman, and she's a black woman.
Again, bitching about what? Or
Selena Kyle has gone back and forth from being black and white for as long as anyone can remember.
At a certain point, you have to just accept the fact that Friends and Sex and the City lied to you. There is no group unless they actively want to only be white in New York City. It's not a thing. It's no. At no point in my life did I have only white people around me when I lived in New York City. Thank you, God. But because those neighborhoods were scary. Anyway, it's again, why is it so hard for you to accept that? Right.
It's like Gotham City super urban. Yes, it is.
I'm like, that's your argument. First of all, bullshit your racism. But second of all, that's your argument. That's your argument that she's too urban to be in Gotham City. Okay. Yeah, cool. Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. So they go into a lot, and again, it's that where you realize that we think we're making so much progress and things that seem perfectly normal to us just really hit people the wrong way. And I'm like,
yeah, no, like as someone who is in a very diverse group of friends, like I have friends with disabilities, I have friends of all different races, I have friends of all different religions.
So it never strikes us as weird that we would see that represented in a real story, in a well-written story,
because
in entertainment.
That is reality. The vast majority of people out there are not that way.
Right.
Because you come into contact with people who are different from you all of the time. Hell, if you just go to the grocery store, you can find people who are different than you. And you know what? Sometimes those are the most amazing relationships, conversations that you can have with people because of the fact that they can give you a different perspective that you, from your own little bubble, did not consider. Also, we lost Crysstal again, so we will see how long this takes. But it's one of those things. Real life is diverse. Like there is a reason why the U.S. especially was called the melting pot.
Well, and again, this is why behind the scenes representation matters.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because behind the scenes representation means that these dynamics can be given the proper representation on screen.
One of the best takes that they did, hence why it's called The Take. I, again, highly recommend if you're interested in entertainment, history of entertainment, current entertainment, what's hot right now. It's fantastic. That they did was the disposable black love interest. And I'm like, wow. Yeah, that was so normalized in especially the early 2000s. And it was just accepted. It's like, well, look, and again, this is what we're talking about. We're being progressive.
Yeah, and see, that's one of the things about like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, for example, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. First off, like the age gap between Knives and Scott. Like, let's not even get into that. Let's just talk about the fact that she is the disposable POC love interest to Scott.
Yes. Suddenly the character is a better forward-thinking person because blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no.
Again, like, Knives is like 16.
All of this stuff accepted and making her the crazy, making her the one interested, making her the one chasing him makes that okay. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No. And then that
and that's not anything like against the movie. The movie was enjoyable.
There's a lot about
it's just if you actually look at everything and analyze it, you should stop and go, why are we rooting for this?
Why? Yeah.
Why are we rooting for Knives?
Yep.
Why are we rooting for Scott?
Shouldn't want to be there at all. Yeah. Yep. But it's calling out what the studios would say, look, we're being progressive, and calling it out for what it is. It's just lip service. It's not. I do.
We do need an Airy Studios technical difficulties poster.
I don't know. Was it going to have like a monkey hitting itself over the head with a screwdriver? I don't know. It'll be my rabbit eating the cord. It'll be like chewing up the cord. That's what it'll be. Yeah. That's what it'll be.
It's not a stream without tribble. I mean, come on.
This is very, very true.
Even my personal streams have tribbles. Like last night, my computer decided to just lock up because Cyberpunk is still glitchy as hell. Great game. I highly suggest it. But go in knowing that they still have not fixed everything.
No. Which is, so yeah, I'll just so you guys can see, I'm trying to get where the, if I can get it in there. Hold on, give me the thing. Show you guys, because I keep mentioning it. That's what it looks like, the take.
Okay.
So they hit over and over again. Yeah, and it kind of dissect all the shows we grew up with, but they kind of need to be to a point. So
no, they definitely do.
Yeah,
and that was willing for anyone who wants it.
Right. Well, and you know, kind of holding shows like Bridgerton accountable. They are incredibly successful, and they're doing it with this. What would be? What's the term I would use right here? It's the. not the mission statement, but it's like the way that they've decided to do the show, kind of just accepting that you have a very mixed English backdrop is what you're going to have. We're not going to care about the ethnicity of the person nearly as much as we're going to care about the accepted family dynamic, as we're going to do. This is the proper person to cast in this. We're just going to accept that all of these people would be accepted into society so that we can have a very diverse cast.
Well, and another thing you have to think about is, like, because of the Moors in Europe,
Yes.
like, the idea of race as we know it these days was very different than it is now. And there definitely were English nobility who were of Moorish descent.
Yes. And whereas this show's kind of created its own universe, and this is great because it's giving an opportunity for representation for people to see people who look like them.
Mm-hmm.
In it's or anything that does that. But they're the one thing I would call it, like, I don't care what universe you create. I love the show. I think that the actors that they cast are fantastic. Yeah, we could do that too. And that for me, great. I would say that they're kind of falling into the look who's coming to dinner trap a little bit. And for those of you who don't know that's the Sidney Poitier movie. And it was a movie clearly written to make white people who were less racist feel better about themselves. Because they wouldn't have had a problem with Sidney Poitier coming to dinner. Like, well, okay. But you also had an example of an incredibly well-educated, beautifully handsome, well-dressed, successful man that broke through stereotypes. Like, was like he has to be perfect. We still say this, like, do they really have to look a certain way, act a certain way? Does somebody who is a person of color have to be so much like an ideal perfection to be given a chance so that people understand why the white person would date them or the white person would be okay with them?
No, like, and see, that's the thing.
Whereas people can all be flawed. They can all have serious issues. They don't have to be that good looking.
Yeah.
Just totally fine. And I'm like, okay, but it's again.
Yeah. But we're also people who try to make sure that we, as we've said, have a diverse group around us.
Yes. We accept all different types of attraction, but still seeing this type of acceptance in entertainment is something that think is something.
Yeah, we can definitely do a lot better.
Yeah,
because representation across the board matters.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, like, whether that is in regards to sexual orientation, racial, cultural, just across the board.
Yeah,
representation matters.
Yeah.
And having a bunch of old white men who are lost in power. Not representation.
No.
That is the opposite of representation.
Right. So it's calling out limited progress for being just limited progress at best. And what is still missing. And then giving credit to shows that do a much better job.
Yes.
Which generally have more diversity behind the camera.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That is the key. Making sure that there's diversity behind the camera.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to make for a much more nuanced product anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, a lot of the time, they don't want nuance because that makes people think. They want people to be able to just ingest it and move on with their lives and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a time and a place
Yes.
for media like that. But certain subjects require the nuance.
Yes. And they require real progress, and they require real representation. That limited lip service.
Yep.
And also that also having that very strong, dynamic called out for what it is, either whether it's great or it's still lacking something, also holds certain critics accountable for their opinion. They try to, camouflage it or gaslight it as something other than what it is. Like, no, you have a problem with this because, or, your whole knee-jerk reaction of, oh, look, another white guy dating a black girl, it's all fake. Or, oh, look, another female heroine, or look, another gay couple into this. I was like, stop acting like your hatred of this is anything less than what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Alec is trying to control the dogs. It's not going well. We're greatly outnumbered.
You guys still have the puppies, right?
We do not.
Okay.
Where's the mama dog? All my dogs are all super hyper right now. So we have the mama dog. She's the lab healer mix. She's not allowed to come upstairs because I'm not taking the risk with her. She's already gotten upstairs and chased the bunny once, so we're not doing that again. So she's with us till Friday. And then we will be taking a couple of the puppies back to kind of lighten the load where they are, so that they can, because eventually the puppies get so big that they have to put them in 2 different pens. So we'll make sure that they only have to use 1 pen there. So
well, if you guys want to drop a puppy here and pick it up later,
Alec will take you up on that. Alec will absolutely take you up on that. We've got there's 2 that he fell for. I think it was Darla, who's this little boxer with like the spots of brindle on her, and she's got like a patch on one of her eyes. And
well, my grandfather has definitely been like, I want a puppy, and then he decided against, no, don't get me a puppy. But if
you can certainly borrow
there's
one.
like, we can foster a puppy, not like multiple, but a puppy.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple.
He's down for that. Like, I could probably convince him.
Yeah.
Probably convince them because
it was all 7 of the puppies are completely different looking. All of them, like, she's the lab healer, but she clearly got with like a brindle boxer, so we have completely different dynamics. I'm interested. It's going to be 2 weeks since we gave them to the foster care, so they're going to be bigger, and I'm interested to see what they look like. But yeah, I'll definitely have a couple options to drop off with you for a while. We can definitely make that work. No problem.
One that's a little bit less energetic would be appreciated because, again, grandfather.
We literally named one of them Trouble. One of them literally has the name Trouble.
Okay,
so
not that one.
No, not that one. We won't do that one. But yeah, we also have like a little, and they're at the super growth sleepy stage. So
there we go.
Perfect, where you get about like 20 minutes of like, and then they just crash. And do that for like 21 hours a day. Yeah.
Yeah, no. My grandpa has definitely on multiple occasions been like, I want a puppy. And I actually started like looking online at like older, like senior dogs. I'm like, not a puppy, but this would be in line with you energy wise.
Yes. I think we can definitely arrange a loner for a couple of days. Cool. Not a problem.
Cool. A loner puppy.
It's a loner puppy.
He would love that on a week that I'm not going to Josh's for the weekend.
Yeah. One where you can be there too. And we won't saddle you with 3 or 4 of them. We'll just hand you one.
Good.
Yeah. Watch out for those puppy teeth, I'm telling you.
Oh, I know.
I had a rat next to it for that reason. The rabbit's pretty good. Still got the carpet here. Eventually the carpet will be gone, so the rabbit will be on we'll have rugs. But I'll take pictures of it soon and we'll put it up. But I turned the whole landing upstairs into the rabbit's apartment. Yeah. So he has a pop tent and he has everything's got a little house. He's got a little. Eventually, I'm gonna put the wallpaper up so that it looks like a little forest.
Oh.
And then there's gonna be like a little fence and some greens around. It's the plastic green stuff, but where it looks cool, but he won't be able to reach it because he's eating the baseboards. So I got to cover the baseboards with something anyway. So yeah.
Pool noodle?
Huh? I'm gonna put up. It's the little garden fences, like the little fairy fences that you put.
Oh yeah.
So it'll be like that. I'll sand it down so that it's just wood. So if he does chew on it, it's totally fine. He can chew on the wood. Only once, but they do make some fairly. I'm going to make a fence out of like the apple blossom things. But basically, we're not my baseboard. Like chew on this, and make it look like he's inside of a garden and the forest is outside. Because
there you go.
Yeah, he's a good bunny. He deserves it. He's literally been chased by dogs like 4 times and forgiven me. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Itty is something else when it comes to the bunnies.
She annoys the crap out of him to the point where if anybody's ever had a rabbit, to make a rabbit growl, you gotta really piss him off. He growls at her. She really bugs the crap out of him. But it's the foster dogs. He was chased by the Sugar, the Malinois. Mom got into the bedroom where he was. He was a smart rabbit though. He made it upstairs. Then this one's gotten upstairs, chased him under the bed, but the good news, bad news is you can tell when a rabbit has had a bad day. They go into like trauma. They go into basically we would kind of equate it with shock, and they'll just stay in one place and they won't eat or drink. He literally brushes off dogs chasing him like it's nothing. The last time he went into a little bit of shock and I had to get him to eat again was with the tiny rabbit that busted into his pen and tortured him like taunting him outside of his house, and that traumatized him for a day or so. So
Poor Bucks.
Yeah, this literally the tribble traumatized him.
Buster is a tribble. He really is.
Way more than like the Malinois coming after him. His reaction to the Malinois was 1, to be mad at me for letting it happen, and 2, to go, tell her to get back in here, I'll beat her ass. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're going to sit there and you're going to eat your cookie. Okay, relax. Yeah. Itty Bitty is not angelic. It's just not.
No, she's not.
No.
She's adorable. She's sweet.
She's
far from angelic.
She's a good girl. But yeah.
Most of the time.
At all. No. Way too smart. Okay.
But anyways, it is 8:05.
It is.
Really good.
I had one rat growing up. Just my last note for the last comment. I had a rat growing up. He made it to like 3.5, which is pretty good for a rat.
My brother had a rat. His name was Fafa, because when my dad was a kid, he had a rat as well, named Fifi. And when we found out that Fafa was a guy, he's like, Fafa, not Fifi.
Close enough. It's Fafa.
It's Fafa.
Rats are interesting. I would definitely recommend them over hamsters.
I loved Fafa. He was such a sweetheart.
So much personality.
One of his things that he loved to do is if you open like the collar of your shirt, he'd get into it, and then he'd do like little circles around your belly.
They really very social. They want to be around you all the time. They want to be on your shoulder all the time. He ate my homework one night, that little turd. He'd steal crackers out of my mouth when I was eating, watching TV with him on the couch. Him and my dog got along great. They played tag. But I just also had one of those perfect dogs growing up. No offense.
Yeah. No, yeah. We had one of those perfect dogs too. He was a Lab Chow Weimaraner Canadian Red Wolf.
Okay.
Mix.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I had a wolf dog growing up.
Sure. Why not? I had a neighbor with one of those. Hold on. Anyway, there's always been a great dog from your childhood. I love that.
Grunt was the product, because my great grandfather had a really weird thing for weird animals. So he got a Chow Canadian Red Wolf hybrid, and she got it on with the neighbor's dog. So apparently there were a bunch of little red puffballs and a bunch of little black puffballs. And this was my parents' baby before they had me.
Right.
So they visited my great-grandparents on the family farm in Missouri. And my mom had her heart set on one of the red puffballs, and my dad was like, no. This little black one, has been following you the entire time. We are taking that one. Because he chose you.
Yes. Yeah, we ended up with Daisy because I was looking at the whole litter of puppies. They were Rhodesian Ridgeback mixes in the pound.
Ooh.
That had been turned in, and they were turned in just before they were like adoptable age, give or take. And we were pulling, puppies and checking this one, looking at this one, and I turned around and Daisy had a death grip on my dad's arm. Like, you do not put me back in there. I don't care where we're going. I don't care what your name is. I don't care. I'm not going back in there. And we're like, okay, she's coming home.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one. Yeah.
And see, when we were picking up, because my family has had purebred dogs. When we were picking out the German wire hairs, there were multiple litters of puppies at the same time.
Right.
And so they just let them out in the yard with us.
Okay.
And we sat down on the ground and the puppies all got on us. But Hugh and Stogie were the ones that were like, nope, you're ours. And they were some of the best dogs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really let the dogs pick you, because they know.
They do.
They know.
Go with it. I mean, yeah, because I let Alec pick 80 and look how that turned out. He's all mad because she does get a little more attached to me some days. And I'm like, I talk to her. You don't know how to talk to her. It's like, she tries to talk to you and you don't understand what she's saying. That's all.
Yes, Eddie?
She points. She's figured out she needs to dumb it down for Alec a little bit.
Oh, that's great.
She's just one of those dogs, way too smart. So she has very specific barks that she does. This is my, I'm a little upset. This is, my pay attention to me bark. This is the F you bark. This is the I lost it and I need you to get it for me. And I'm not letting you, I'm not going to stop making this noise until you get this ball for me bark.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to show Alec. I said, that is her get the ball bark. And he's like, well, where's the ball? I said, ask her where the ball is. 80, where's the ball? And she goes, there. She points her, she swings her head around. I'm like, follow her nose. Just ask her where. And he's like, God, she's smart. I said, she's been trying to talk to you for months.
Yeah.
Listening. You have to. Yeah. She's way too smart. Wait, and I warned him. I said, there's downsides to smart dogs. They're going to know how far they can push you and how much trouble they can get into. And they're going to be totally cool with that. And
the smart dogs are the Q, when he was a puppy, got a hold of my homework. So the next day, I literally had to go to my teacher and say, I am sorry. The dog actually ate my homework. This is not an excuse. This is the truth. My worksheet got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And the teacher was, because my mom worked at the middle school doing the copy center stuff.
Okay. Yep.
And so, during her lunch break, she went and saw my mom. Okay. She was like, this is one of the most ridiculous things. Did this actually happen? My mom goes, yeah. It did.
Oh, I had to ask my dad to write a note because I had to walk into the school and he'd eaten so much of it. The homework was done. It was midnight and the rat had eaten my homework for the first time ever. He'd eaten it's one of those show your work math pages. And I'm like, I'm not fucking doing this again. Because he ate it's not like I could redo it. He was like, he ate the problems too. Like the whole page was gone. So I had to turn it aside. I don't mind doing it again. But I had to turn it aside. Like the rat ate the homework. And I'm like, here's a note for my dad. And here's his phone number. Seriously, I'm not, not making this up. The rat ate my homework. And she's like, that's a first. That's a first. I'm like, can't.
Yeah, exactly. It's the weirdest thing when your pets actually get a hold of your homework and you're a kid, and it's like, I swear to God, I know this sounds like a made up actual thing. I know what this sounds like. I am not dumb.
No.
But you can ask my mom. You can actually call them.
You can. Thank God our parents backed us up.
Oh.
Yep. You hush.
It is something else when that happens.
Very true. Someone broke into sleep. And that skunks are a good one too, but I don't know. Everyone I know who's had a skunk.
You didn't have them demusked? A lot of people do.
Yeah, that's what anyone I knew that ended up with a skunk, but they were also these are also people that meant to end up with a skunk. Like they actually went and adopted the skunk from one of the rescues. So all of them were descented, scent gland, boob, something at that point. So it's interesting that some of them would still have them. Yeah.
That's great.
And they will. They'll chew through anything. They're like a rabbit. Yeah, they will. Yep. All right, guys.
All right. Yep.
It's time.
That time for us to wrap up. Thank
is.
you all for being here. To those of you who are watching it as a VOD later, thank you for watching.
Thank you.
We hope you have a wonderful day and live long and prosper, guys.
Live long and prosper. Thank you so much. And like she said, you guys have a great weekend, and we'll hopefully see you guys next week. Thank you.
Bye.